ship with your parents and your wife. You are sailing across the cold waters of the North Sea, a journey that will take at least a week with no setbacks. The nights are dark and damp, and the days are often dreary. The sour scent of seasickness sticks to the floors and walls and your own clothing. But in the air is a buzzing of anticipation that is equal parts fear and excitement. The ship is carrying you away from all that you've ever known, but is bringing you to a country where you'll have the chance to build a new life. The scenario you just entered was the exact one my great-great-grandfather lived through in 1910 when immigrating from Germany to the U.S., but it was in no way an uncommon experience. As tensions in Europe began to rise, millions of immigrants flooded into the U.S. in the decade leading up to World War I. As the National Park Service discusses in their article titled Immigration in the Great War, packed ships crowded the New York harbor as immigrants waited to clear medical and legal inspection at the Ellis Island Immigration Station. After receiving clearance into the U.S., these new arrivals dispersed across the country, some of whom became the ancestors you know today. Although I don't know what it feels like to have to leave my life behind and start over in a new country, I am a direct descendant of a German immigrant who did, and the proof of his success. To fully comprehend the culture my great-great-grandfather left behind in Germany, it is important to discuss the customs of German people, the stereotypes that surround them, and how my family's history has been woven into it. To begin, we will examine the pieces of culture that make up people, the stereotypes that afflict them and why, and how my great-great-grandfather ensured my family's place within it. Let us start by looking at the customs that make up German culture. Germans boast a rich culture colored with traditional festivals and dress to match. Here we see the traditional dirndl dress for women and lederhosen for men. The clothing is typically worn as a celebration of their culture during annual festivals such as Carnival or Oktoberfest. Carnivals held in Germany are an event organized by the country's dominant religion, Christianity, and thus takes place 6 weeks before Easter every year. Before the church adopted the festival into their calendar as a pre-Lent celebration, it was a paganistic ceremony wherein people wore masks and beat drums to chase away winter spirits and usher in spring. The colorful parades are still characterized by music and costumes, but are now meant to be a way for their people to gather and celebrate culture. As DW summarizes in their article, Carnival, a 2,000-year-old tradition, Carnival provides community, comfort, and joy to people. Similar to Carnival, Oktoberfest is an annual event that offers a deeper look into the country's culture. The festival takes place in Munich each year, and although it originated as a celebration of the marriage of a Bavarian crown prince, it is now used to usher in this harvest season and celebrate German drink and cuisine. Families can gather for days of play in September, enjoying amusement rides and participating in traditional Oktoberfest activities such as bird whistle mimicking competitions, German folk dancing, and strongman games. As Forbes concludes in their article, Oktoberfest in Munich, after activities, people will want something hearty to eat, and that is when the true stars of the festival shine. Staples of German cuisine can be found in the stalls for the festival, such as grilled sausages, potato dumplings, and giant soft pretzels. All of this can be washed down in one of the many beer tents which serve the 6 varieties of local brew from this time. Now that we have examined the pieces of German culture that make up their people, let's look at the stereotypes that afflict them. Despite their lively festivals, German people are known for their serious nature. They value conciseness and honesty, running on a time-dominated culture that leaves no room for pointless excess. Attempts at social small talk are often painfully awkward because they would rather discuss politics or philosophy. Smiling as a greeting or complimenting a stranger is almost unheard of, and as Goethe University Frankfurt notes in their article, Guide to German Culture, will likely be met with suspicion. The streets are often shelved under the stereotypes that German people are rude and cold, but that's not the case. These stereotypes have been formed because of miscommunications between cultures. In their oral language, they have formal connotations that are used with strangers and acquaintances, and informal language that is reserved for those closest to them. Their culture functions in much the same way. Public and private life are separate. Chatting with a stranger about how they are doing is something that would be normal in the U.S., but strange in Germany. Not because of a lack of personal warmth and German character, but because of a difference in culture and a difference in communication style. Now that we have discussed their stereotypes, we will look at my family's background with German heritage. Although they were of a drastically different variety, my great-great-grandfather, Heinrich Philipp, population when he came to the U.S. in 1910. The war hadn't started yet, but tensions were high and German immigrants weren't always looked on too kindly. As history notes in their article, U.S. immigration before 1965, the influx of newcomers was often seen as job competition. To combat discrimination that he feared would follow him, he changed his name to Henry Phillips upon landing on U.S. soil. With very little money, Henry took his wife, mother and father, and journeyed to the Midwest, where he had heard that there would be immigrant job opportunities in coal mining. He landed in the LaSalle area of Illinois, where most of his family will still reside over a century later. Although I don't know what it feels like to have to leave my life behind and start over in a new country, my family holds the generations of proof to one man's success. To conclude, we have examined the customs of German culture to their rowdy festivals, seen the stereotypes that have been caused by miscommunication, and how my great-grandfather ensured my family's place within the culture by journeying across the ocean. To start a new life for himself and his family, Henry Phillips had to leave most aspects of his German heritage in the New York harbor, but with this presentation, I hope to have fished out at least a few of them.